Hello, this is Wednesday evening. I'm doing another version of landscape history and integrity, and I was been sort of catching up on my videos. I get behind because I watch so many different things. So I was catching up on some Greg Mannarino videos. I think I might have shared one. I shared one the other day. If you looked at that, regard related to the cotillion effect, but. Greg, he's always talking about the wealth transfer that he sees going on, the transitioning that's going on in our economy, and definitely things are changing. Things do change. Historically, we've had changes on and who's taken over from whom, and we know that the Dutch were the major economy of the world. Then the British became the major economy of the world. I think the Spanish in between there, or the Portuguese. I don't have that on the top of my head, but anyway, uh, things are changing right now, and the value of our dollar is plummeting, and we're seeing that because every time you go to the store, you're buying a little bit, paying a little bit more for what you buy. It has been on its way out for a long time. There's people who've been warning about this for several decades that we're at the end, and somehow they've managed to string it along here and keep it going because, of course, are the guys who have the money and want the money don't want to lose the money, and so they're finding every way they can to figure out how to hold on to the money. Well, one of those things is, as you might have seen if you've been paying attention, uh, how the central banks have been buying gold here now the last few years. Several years ago, gold was not. Was it Bernanke who said that it was an ancient relic or something like that? In other words, it was just something to have. It wasn't real money, and we didn't need to be concerned about it. But as things have been falling apart, and I'm sure they knew this. This is probably the plan all along. They wanted you and me to think gold was worth nothing and silver is worth nothing, so that and there's ways that they do that. I'm not going to bother to get into that. You can watch other people who talk about these things a lot more than me. Mannarino for one. uh, but they keep the price of things down, and then as the central banks have been doing here in the last few years, they've been buying the gold, and they're hoarding the gold because they need a real money, something that holds its value, and gold holds its value. Gold is not an investment in the respect of how we speculate with investments. Uh, Land may not be that either, but certainly in recent years, land has been a more speculative kind of thing that people would buy and flip houses and things like that. It's not the way people typically approach gold. They use gold as an insurance policy, just as part of the portfolio, to make sure that if at some point one aspect of the portfolio falls apart, they've got the gold which is retaining its value. So uh, this is why the price of gold is probably rising right now. But and if you've been looking at it, it's risen a lot in the last several years. It's gone to town. Uh, but I was listening to him, and another thing that I was listening to referred to a commentary for the Brookings Institute that Ben Bernanke, who was a former Fed president, back in March of 2016, he wrote three articles which were in the Brookings Institute commentary, and the general topic was, what tools does the Fed have left? Now this was almost 10 years ago now, 8 years ago. Part one was negative interest rates. We have not seen negative interest rates in the United States. I think Japan might have done that for a bit. Anyway, we haven't seen negative interest rates, which is a dangerous thing to do. Targeting longer term interest rates, using, you adjusting longer term interest rates. They had been doing that. And then helicopter money, which we have seen, of course, in our PPP loans if were in business, or in that's even part of the idea of forgiving student loans and certainly the monies. The everybody got a stipend whenever the uh, medical calamity happened a few years ago, and everybody stayed home and uh, suffocated themselves behind masks and uh, didn't interact with people and all these other insane things. And but we got our money for while we stayed home, didn't we? So that's helicopter money, and these are the things that have been going on. So that was 8 years ago. He's talking about these are the tools we're going to use, and they're the tools that they have been implementing in various ways. Hopefully, we won't get to negative interest rates. That sounds like a pretty dangerous thing to do. We need interest rates. It sounds good to you and to you maybe initially because you're thinking, oh, I can take that. In fact, that's what they do essentially. Anyway, I won't get into that. Um, Free money, which we've had really low interest rates, which is part of the reason we have this bubble in the stock market and everything, and we have had a bubble in the housing market. Low interest rates. We need people to have to pay interest. Keeps everybody from throwing money at things they ought not to be speculating on in general. But anyway, uh, I was watching Greg Mannarino today. The one today, his earlier one today, was sort of a good overview. I'm going to put that down below and let you take a look at what he has to say about things. But he's emphasizes in all his videos how there's a wealth transfer going on between the middle class and those who have, and as you were probably experiencing in your own pocketbook when you were paying $50 for groceries a year or two ago, and now you're paying 100. That's affecting your pocketbook in a way that is more detrimental because the wealthy guy, $50 more is not a big deal to him. For you, it means you can't take that money and then put it together with other money and go and invest in the stock market because you're buying food with it, right? It's as simple as that. So he talks about that a lot, and just earlier in the week, he was pointing out how the gold and silver was up and the crypto was down because over the weekend crypto sort of dropped. The Bitcoin and XRP etc. dropped. Things, of course, they go up and down, but one of the things that he mentioned over the last few days was that the stock market. In fact, I'm not sure that was him. It might have been another person that mentioned it. But the stock market is owned by 10%. Let's see. Yes, it's owned by 10% for the first time in history. Now, 10%, you might think, well, that's okay. If 10%, that's a lot of people potentially. There's a lot of people in the United States, so and of course around the world. And so if but that would 10% of the stock is I'm sorry. I think I wrote down the wrong. I wrote this down wrong. But anyway, the long and short of it is that it is primarily owned by the top 10% of investors, and for the first time in history. Now, the top 10% owning the stock market means that yes, I might have a few $100 in the stock market or a few thousand, whatever, in the stock market. But that means that if the major stock of people who are holding the stock market, and I'm part of that 10%, then there's people who are owning a whole lot of stock of a whole lot of value because my little stock, I'm part of the 10%. So it's a very small thing, which tells you exactly how much wealth that these folks are holding. And of course, Mannarino is pointing out how we need to watch out. We can't let them just take, pass laws and do this, that, and the other to take advantage of making all the wealth transition to other people. Now, of course, his issue is he has his own system of investing in the stock market, that's what he does, and he shares that with people. And I've talked about the economic ninja, and he's doing a variety of things, including crypto. Talks about crypto, XRP, real estate, and the variety of things himself. But I'm going to put that video from today down at the bottom, and just invite you to take a look at what Mannarino has to say, and maybe you can get something out of it. I don't listen to the mainstream media financial people because they're just, from my experience, they're just pushing the message of the people who run the world. So, they're part of the whole system. So I'd like to listen to people outside the system, give me much more critical kind of input. So look for that down below. And until I see it again, have a good day. Oh, by the way, please comment, subscribe, like. Thank you. Have a good day.